Her fingers, surprisingly strong for an older woman, dug into the front of my shirt, yanking me back with a force that nearly rattled my teeth. "You think you can just ignore customers, huh?" she shrieked, her face a furious knot of wrinkles. My heart hammered against my ribs, and all I could think was, this can't be happening. I just wanted some damn cat food. All right, Redditors, buckle up. My name's Jasper, and what started as a simple errand for my mom turned into a full-blown public meltdown that still makes me want to pinch myself. So, the other day, Mom asked me to pick up a big bag of her cat's favorite chow. I'm not really a cat guy, but hey, happy mom, happy life, right? Plus, it was an excuse to get out of the house. I pulled into the local supermart, grabbed a cart, and headed straight for the pet aisle. That's when I hit my first snag. The specific brand Mom wanted, it was way up on the top shelf, practically kissing the ceiling, and naturally the bottom shelf was picked clean. I scanned around, figured a store employee would be along any second to help, but the aisle was deserted. I mean, completely deserted. My eye caught a bright yellow employee ladder folded up neatly a few feet away. Now I know what you're thinking. Jasper, you absolute dumbass, don't touch employee equipment, and you'd be right. But in my defense, I was already annoyed by the lack of staff and the ridiculously high shelving. Plus, I'm pretty agile, and I figured it'd take less time to just grab it myself than to track down an actual employee. A quick in and out. No harm, no foul. So I unfolded the ladder, set it up, and started my ascent. Reaching the bag was a bit of a struggle. Those industrial-sized cat food bags are heavy. I grunted and strained, nearly lost my footing once, but finally wrestled it off the shelf. As I carefully backed down, cradling the monstrosity, I heard it. Well, it's about time. I looked over. An older woman, probably in her late 50s, stood there with her arms crossed, glaring at me. She had one of those "I want to speak to your manager" haircuts and a general air of righteous indignation. I was still half on the ladder, the cat food bag practically obscuring my face. "Excuse me?" I said, setting the bag down on the cart and folding the ladder. "Excuse me?" she mimicked, stepping closer. "I've been waiting here for ages. You just climbed down from helping yourself, I assume. What about me?" "Oh, I actually don't work here," I replied, trying to sound polite while also quickly putting the ladder back where I found it. "I was just getting some cat food for my mom." She scoffed, a loud theatrical sound that echoed in the empty aisle. "Don't work here. Don't be ridiculous. You were just on that ladder, clearly restocking or something. You think I'm blind?" She pointed a long, bony finger at me. "I need you to get me that organic quinoa pasta from the top shelf, and don't give me that 'don't work here' nonsense again." I sighed. "Ma'am, seriously, I'm just a customer. I just borrowed the ladder because no one was around. I need to go." I started to push my cart away, wanting nothing more than to escape this bizarre interaction. That's when she launched, "Oh no, you don't." And that's when her fingers dug into my shirt, yanking me back. The rage in her eyes was startling. "You're not walking away from a customer who needs help. This is unacceptable. Get me that pasta right now." My breath hitched. Panic started to bubble in my chest. Who does that? Who physically grabs someone in a grocery store? I tried to pull away, but her grip was surprisingly strong. "Let go of me," I demanded, my voice probably a lot higher than I would have liked. "You'll let go of me when you've done your job," she screamed, attracting the attention of a real employee who was finally making their way down the next aisle. The employee, a young guy named Mark, probably mid-20s, with a name tag, rushed over. Whoa, what's going on here?" he asked, looking between her furious face and my shirt, which was now stretched precariously. This gentleman here, she practically spat the word, refused to help me, then tried to walk away. He was just on that ladder, acting like he owns the place. Mark looked at me, then at the ladder. He clearly recognized me as not being one of his coworkers. "Ma'am, I think there's a misunderstanding. This person isn't an employee." "Nonsense," she shrieked, still gripping my shirt. "He's wearing a blue shirt. All your employees wear blue shirts." I was, in fact, wearing a plain blue t-shirt. "Great. And he was on your ladder. Now you," she turned her attention to Mark, but still didn't release me, "you apologize to him for his rudeness, and then he can go get my pasta." Mark stared, completely bewildered. "Ma'am, I can get your pasta, but I'm not apologizing to him because he's a customer, and you need to let go of him right now." He stepped forward, gently trying to pry her fingers off my shirt. She finally released me, but turned her fury fully on Mark. Unbelievable! The service in this store is atrocious. You're both useless. I didn't wait around for the rest of the show. I mumbled a quick thanks man to Mark, who just nodded with a weary look and practically bolted with my cart towards the self-checkout. As I scanned my cat food, I could still hear her yelling, "I want your manager. This is outrageous." Mark was calmly trying to de-escalate, but it sounded like she was having none of it. I paid and was literally halfway out the door when I heard Mark's voice, much louder this time. "Ma'am, you need to leave. We're going to have to ask you to leave the store." Then came her indignant squawk. "Leave? I have a full cart here. I haven't paid." "I'm sorry, ma'am." Mark's voice, though firm, sounded genuinely regretful. "But due to your behavior, we're refusing service." My jaw dropped. They actually refused her service. For a moment, my panic dissipated, replaced by a surge of pure, unadulterated schadenfreude. I saw her storm towards her cart, then back towards Mark, her face an even deeper shade of puce. I didn't stick around for the finale, but the sight of her being denied her shopping after all that, honestly, it was beautiful. Walking home, the huge bag of cat food felt a lot lighter. I was still buzzing from the adrenaline, but mostly I just felt a profound sense of absurdity. All that drama just because I wanted to save a few minutes and grabbed a ladder. It's wild how quickly a mundane errand can go off the rails. And honestly, it definitely gave me a new appreciation for the patience of retail workers. So, yeah, never touching an employee ladder again. But what a story, right? This one's going into the family archives.
Liking the vibe so far? Hit that subscribe button and stick around, the next story's even better.
Look, I knew going to Chuck E. Cheese with a dozen sugar-hyped summer campers wouldn't be a zen experience. But I sure as hell didn't expect to be accused of slacking off by an angry Karen twice, with a giant mouse mascot bearing silent witness to the second round. Let me tell you, that soda stain on my bright yellow city camp shirt. It was apparently a beacon for entitled rage. It was one of those gloriously chaotic summer camp days. The city had blessed us with a decent budget for a pizza party, and where else do you take a gaggle of kids eager for tokens and greasy slices? Chuck E. Cheese, of course. My fellow counselors and I were buzzing with a mix of excitement and mild dread, ready to wrangle our charges through the labyrinth of arcade games and animatronic animals. After getting our hands stamped, a rite of passage really, I led my group of kids straight to our designated party zone. It was a sea of flashing lights, competing jingles, and the glorious scent of lukewarm pizza. My first mission, secure the drinks. I headed to the soda fountain, a perilous journey even for the uninitiated. And because the universe loves a good setup, as I was wrangling a tray of lukewarm sodas, I managed to slosh a good amount of sticky cola right down the front of my shirt. "Great," I muttered, dabbing at the bright yellow fabric. "Just what I needed. Now I look like I wrestled a fizzy brown monster." The shirt, by the way, was a standard issue for our city summer camp. Vibrant yellow with a simple block-lettered city summer camp counselor emblazoned across the back. Clearly I wasn't subtle. I hadn't even finished blotting the sticky mess when she descended. A woman, mid-40s, eyes narrowed, jaw set. She looked like she'd just found a hair in her non-existent soup. "Excuse me," she barked, cutting straight through the din of arcade noises. "Your staff shirt is not helping you at all. You're just standing there dripping soda everywhere instead of doing your job." I blinked. My job? Drip soda? Ma'am," I said, trying to keep my tone even despite the growing annoyance. The kids were already starting to mill about, sniffing out the pizza. "I don't actually work here. I'm a counselor with the city summer camp. This is my camp shirt." I even gestured to the lettering on my back, hoping she'd take a hint. She just stared at me, her expression morphing into utter disbelief, as if I'd just told her Chuck E. Cheese runs on pixie dust. "Well, why are you wearing a staff shirt then?" she demanded, arms crossing. Her voice was getting louder, drawing the attention of a couple of our campers. It's a camp shirt," I repeated, feeling like I was explaining advanced quantum physics to a brick wall, "for my job with the city." She rolled her eyes with the kind of theatrical flourish usually reserved for a soap opera villain. "Whatever," she huffed, turning on her heel and marching off. I sighed, shaking my head. Welcome to Chuck E. Cheese, Cedric, I mumbled to myself, and returned to the much more pressing task of getting pizza and drinks to a hungry mob of 10-year-olds. I figured that was the end of my interaction with the human embodiment of a Sour Patch Kid. Boy, was I wrong. A little while later, while I was keeping an eye on my campers and discreetly wiping the last of the soda off my shirt, I spotted her again. She was making a beeline for Chucky the Mouse. And Chucky, bless his oversized heart, was in the middle of a glorious off-key rendition of the Chuck E. Cheese birthday song, complete with jaunty dance moves. "Excuse me, Mr. Mouse," she practically shrieked, her voice cutting through the speaker system. "My son's tickets aren't working. He just won a whole bunch and the machine ate them." Chucky naturally kept dancing. He swayed. He clapped. He ignored her with the practiced grace of a seasoned performer whose contract explicitly states no customer service. "I paid for these tickets," she insisted, now yelling, waving her hands at the giant mouse. "They're not working. You need to fix this." Chucky just kept on dancing. His plastic eyes stared into the middle distance, perhaps dreaming of quieter days and functioning ticket machines. The woman stood there for another agonizing moment, growing redder by the second, before finally letting out an exasperated growl. She grabbed her bewildered-looking son by the arm and stormed out of Chuck E. Cheese, leaving a half-eaten pizza on their table, completely abandoned. I watched her go, a slow smile spreading across my face. Well, I thought that's one way to get rid of a pizza. So yeah, that was my day. A roller coaster of sticky sodas, mistaken identity, and an entitled woman who just couldn't grasp the concept of "I don't work here," even when facing a sentient mouse. Sometimes, you just gotta let the animatronics handle it.
The shrill, terrified sob of my little brother still rings in my ears, even now. He couldn't speak much back then, so when this woman, a total stranger in a sensible cardigan and a scowl, tried to yank his arm, his only protest was that gut-wrenching sound. I was maybe 12 or 13 myself, a lanky kid named Jace, and watching over him was my primary job during our homeschool field trips. But in that moment, as she tugged him towards the public school looming next to the park, I just knew I had to protect him. See, my youngest brother, let's call him Little Bro, struggled with verbal communication as a small child. He relied on me a lot, and I was always there, his unofficial bodyguard. We were homeschooled, which meant our school hours were, well, whenever. So, we were often out and about when other kids were in class, and some well-meaning or not-so-well-meaning adults tended to assume we were just playing hooky. This day, though, felt different. We were at the park just having a blast, part of a bigger homeschool group. The sun was out, the air was warm, and everything was great until she showed up. "Young man, what are you doing out of school?" she demanded, her voice sharp enough to cut glass. She'd zeroed in on Little Bro, who was frozen like a deer, eyes wide with fear. "And where's your uniform?" I stepped in front of Little Bro, trying to shield him. "Excuse me, ma'am, he's homeschooled. We're on a field trip with our group." I tried to sound polite, the way Mom taught me. But she just sniffed, her gaze dismissive. "Homeschooled? Nonsense. He looks like one of ours." "You need to speak to me with respect, young man, and bring him back to school where he belongs." And she reached for Little Bro again, her hand closing around his small wrist. That's when he let out that cry. It wasn't just a whimper, it was pure, unadulterated fear. Tears streamed down his face. My blood ran cold. This wasn't okay. "No, he's not yours," I yelled, pulling Little Bro closer to me, trying to break her grip. She held on tight, her knuckles white. Suddenly, a chorus of voices chimed in. "Hey, leave them alone! He's not a student here." A group of public school kids, maybe a bit older than me, had gathered. They must have seen the whole thing unfold. They recognized Little Bro, probably from previous park visits. "Seriously, Miss Jenkins, he's always here. He's homeschooled." M.S. Jenkins, or whatever her name was, looked stunned by their defiance for a second, then turned her fury back on me. "How dare you? And you," she pointed at the public school kids, "get back to class." As for you, she was back to me, her face inches from mine. I'm going to need to know your parents' names, your address, and exactly why you think homeschooling is an acceptable alternative to a proper education. My jaw dropped. Excuse me, I'm not here to answer your questions. You have no right to ask me any of that, and you definitely have no right to grab my brother. She reached out again, this time towards my arm, maybe trying to physically assert control. I just reacted, batting her hand away hard. It was an instinct, pure panic mixed with a protective fury I hadn't known I had. You hit me? She shrieked, clutching her hand like I'd broken it, though I hadn't. Before she could say another word, a whirlwind arrived. My mom. I don't know how she found us so quickly amidst the field trip chaos, but her face was thunderous. What the hell is going on here? She roared, her voice cutting through the tension like a knife. Imaps. Jenkins, flustered, tried to stammer out an explanation, something about truancy and disrespectful children. But Mom wasn't having it. She strode right past me, scooped up little bro who instantly buried his face in her side and then turned her full, formidable wrath on the teacher. You lay one more finger on my child, or on any child, and I promise you, you'll regret it. Who are you? You have absolutely no right to harass them. The argument escalated fast, Mom's protective instincts in full overdrive, the teacher still indignant. It drew a small crowd, including, eventually, a police officer who happened to be on patrol nearby. He had to gently but firmly intervene, not to break up a fight, but to physically separate Mom and MS Jenkins. Ma'am, please, just walk away, the officer told my mom, whose anger was still simmering, steam practically coming out of her ears. I've heard enough. The teacher here has clearly overstepped her boundaries. That was enough for Mom. She wasn't finished, not by a long shot. After making sure little bro was okay and sending us back to the rest of our group with a friend's mom, she walked straight into that public school. She wasn't just asking, she was demanding a written apology from MS Jenkins and the principal. And she got it. The principal, clearly embarrassed, assured Mom that no homeschooled children would be harassed at the park ever again. We kept going on our homeschool field trips to that park, but for a long time we steered clear of the swings closest to the school fence. It was a stark reminder of that day. I've shared this story a few times, and it's honestly wild how many people, even the original poster of the thread I'm thinking of, have similar experiences with teachers thinking they can just grab any kid they see. It's a sad reality, really, that some adults in positions of power forget boundaries. But it also taught me, even as a kid, that sometimes you just have to stand up fiercely for yourself and for those you love. Thanks for letting me get that off my chest. It might not be funny, but it sure makes you think, doesn't it?
This one fits right in with what you just saw.